Have you guys ever heard about a city called Sao Paulo? Apparently it's the largest city in South America. Oh, actually the largest city in all of America, beating even New York. I only heard about this recently. Imagine living on one half of the world and not even knowing that the largest city inside of it exists. But here's the thing about this place. Descending from the heavens like some sort of ethereal demigod, floating down with my mouse and scroll wheel from the safety of my computer with Google Maps has me realizing just how unbelievably huge this place is. What an unplanned, sprawling monstrosity. But you can get that with Mexico City and a number of other places. What really makes this insane are the skyscrapers. They're f***ing everywhere. Every building from city sector to city sector are high-rise buildings. Are they apartments? Hotels? Is it Doofenshmirtz Evil Incorporated? I guess the answer is yes. What's crazy about this is we built Seattle's downtown a few years ago, and when doing 1,000 buildings, we started to run out of skyscrapers at the end. So I just assumed most huge cities would be similar. Oh, no. You see this? And you see this? They just never end. It's gotta be at least 10,000 skyscrapers here, or even more. This place must have been impossible to navigate before Google Maps and GPSs. From what I've been reading, life here is kind of chaos, yet I'm unexplainably attracted to it. Like I would want to spend 6 months here to know what's really going on. High crime rate though. The craziest thing when thinking about this city is that we have to build this staggering monolith. Every street, building, car. Well, not car, we went over that in a previous video. All of it in Minecraft. The idea leaves several of my body's orifices puckering with trepidation and anxiety. But we have South American teams in the project, and they're some of the hardest working teams in the entire project. What they've completed so far is insane, qualifying for the top 10 in completed buildings for all of Build the Earth based on our census video last year. But they've accomplished way more than that since then. Some might even say double. And with their largest city being the most chaotic metropolistic sea of sun-baked concrete buzzing with the commerce and life of human activity that I've ever seen and only recently learned of its existence, there's a seemingly infinite amount of opportunity to push that score as high as they want. Lots of you were asking for a series like this, and I've always wanted to do it. Why not start with one of the largest and underrated cities and teams in the world in terms of potential accomplishment? Here's everything Team Brazil has ever done. So, first things first, the most prominent civic buildings of note, Congresso Nacional and Supremo Tribunal Federal, among several others. These buildings have actually been through a lot. Did you know that Brazil was a military dictatorship for an entire 20 years of recent history? Yeah, 1964 to 1985. Full stop. Closing Congress, suspending their constitution, torturing thousands, arresting all resistance including university professors and musicians. It was crazy. You should have seen it. The craziest part about this is we didn't just support it. We aided the coup d'etat and dictatorial regime. Okay, by we, I mean the United States government at the time, not Build the Earth, the organization. But why? Why would we do that? American influence was everywhere during that time. Anywhere they could even think communism might be springing up, we were there in an instant, supporting the opposition. João Goulart's administration was pretty left, not quite communist, but the Kennedys were worried that it might eventually be. Crazy to think that a goddamn Brazilian revolution was going on while we were landing on the moon. Now, we can't talk about Brazil without mentioning Christ the Redeemer. Constructed in the 1920s in response to what was perceived by the religious as godlessness in the culture at the time, this big statue of Jesus is one of the modern wonders of the world. If you take a look at it here in Google Maps, the entire hill it's situated on is gorgeous, and while we've built it in Minecraft, terraforming of the hillside and surrounding area has only begun recently. This year marks the 100-year anniversary since its construction. I totally planned that. But to me, the 1920s still seem like 70 years ago. Now look, there's no denying that a gigantic statue of Jesus situated on a romantic hillside is going to be quite the tourist attraction, with every middle-aged mom holding a map with a backpack, taking Ubers and taxi cabs to see it, generating tons of revenue for the tourist industry in Brazil. But generally, when I'm traveling, I like to take more obscure interests, wander off the beaten path, and find something that very few people know about for a unique experience. If you want to experience religious architecture in South America, You could go see a giant statue of Jesus, or you could find an underwater church drowned out by a man-made reservoir that used to have a small town sitting in the valley. This town, that they call Old Petrolandia, had people living there, enough for them to actually construct a church with a beautiful archway. But floodwaters from the dam caused the entire area to start flooding, forcing everyone to flee their homes and abandon the area. This half-submerged church seems to be the only thing that's left standing. You can actually take boat tours and even snorkel around, which, if this existed in the United States, they probably wouldn't let you do, since the water will eventually cause this archway to crumble and fall, and there's a small chance someone could be exploring it during that time. The anal obsession we have for safety here would stifle all and any sense of exploration. If the United States had this, they might even tear it down, like they've been doing recently with all interesting and abandoned ghost towns. Yes, that's happening, and I'm not happy about it. Oh, we should probably build those in Minecraft before they disappear. That's a good idea. The team building all of this in Minecraft also built this highway. Me and Rafa, who was guiding me on the tour, ran through it as far as we could. It's amazing to consider as progress continues that there will be areas where you can travel highways for miles and see human civilization fully completed, just like in real life. Rafa has also spent the last year heavily terraforming and building this huge park area. Interestingly enough, in this park we walked by what appears to be a really sketchy abandoned electrical tower, which I took some interest in. While this may or may not be safe to explore in real life, the great thing about exploring it in Minecraft is that we can explore things like these completely safe. Well, except for the radiation glaring out of the screens and being absorbed in our eyes and brains. Worth the trade-off? Who knows? We'll know a lot more about the effects of screens on humans in another 100 years once we've all succumbed to the effects. Anyways, Brazil also has lots of statues, specifically ones of Tiradentes, and our team has built a few of them. Tiradentes had planned a Brazilian revolt against Portugal in the 1700s, much like the American Revolution that they had planned to begin on tax day. But one of the rebel conspirators betrayed the plot in order to get his taxes waived that year. Everyone was arrested and exiled except Tiradentes, who was sentenced to death. His revolution had not planned for the abolishment of slavery, which wouldn't happen until 1888. And in today's Brazilian culture, Tiradentes is seen and honored as a hero. In terms of everything that Team Brazil has done, we couldn't show you all of it, even if we wanted to. We wouldn't be able to find it all. It's thousands and thousands of buildings. But the progress is immeasurable, including completed areas in Nova Olinda do Norte, statues along the boardwalk in Aracaju, including finished sectors, also an incredible island in Recife, much like the one we did in Miami, which looks amazing when fully finished, and the Sao Sao Paulo archipelago, which the country of Brazil really wants to have the international community recognize as its territory, so they built a scientific observatory there and keep it staffed in order to prove that the area is habitable. Another time they did this is when asserting ownership over their territories in Antarctica. They went as far as to send pregnant women in the 70s and 80s to their Antarctic bases to prove that they had an Antarctic population. So out of the 12 people or so who have bragging rights of being the only people ever born in Antarctica, I think almost all of them are Brazilian. There's also the Arenas das Dunas in Rio Grande, the sand slopes in Porto Seguro, completed buildings and parks in the Osorio Square, Ralsores Square in Minas Gerais, not to be confused with Minas Tirith, completed city blocks in downtown Novo Hamburgo, which has plenty of hamburger joints, downtown Santa Maria with a lot of progress also residing in the state of Rio Grande, also Arena de Grêmio, which is very recently constructed in both real life and Minecraft, since when you go there in Google Earth, its 3D still shows a construction site. They also have a considerable amount done in places like Montenegro, fully completed unique bridge styles in many different places within the country, and they've even made progress in Congonhas International Airport in Sao Paulo, the first thing you're going to see if you go there on vacation. And concerning Sao Paulo, they've built some impressive chunks of it. I did a lot of research on what life is like here, and it's pretty wild. Brazil still seems to be in a power struggle where the state itself and its criminal underbelly are fighting for the spirit of the country. Sao Paulo authorities are in a constant state of negotiation regarding the largest gangs and criminal organizations in the area, to the point of when negotiations break down, absolute mayhem can ensue. In terms of its culture, it's a lot like New York was 30 years ago. High rates of crime in specific areas, some districts being remarkably safer, with the city itself being full of life and its culture. New York has been cleansed, and some people refer to it as a type of Disneyland now. In a word, United States culture lost a piece of its soul when organized crime eventually lost the battle to the state when they were finally disintegrated in the late 90s and early 2000s. And New York is a really good example of this. If this is a larger pattern in the progression of human society, it's very likely that places like Sao Paulo will eventually go the same route. As it stands, it's still a vibrant, exciting, chaotic, and interesting city that exemplifies the heart and soul of Brazilian culture. So enjoy it now and visit Brazil today, whether that's in real life or on our Minecraft server, buildtheearth.net. A huge, girthy-sized thanks to our top-tier patrons, Almighty Svet, Ekalise, Jack Larson, Ji Yang, Megan Leckie, Pixie Gum, and the Demon Slayer. I'd backpack South America and brave the Amazon with you guys any day. Granted, we'd be against jaguars who attack and kill and eat anything that moves, not to mention extremely poisonous frogs, bullet ants whose bite will paralyze you, black caimans, the wandering Brazilian spider who can kill you with a single bite, anacondas, and crocodiles, not to mention all the poisonous and toxic types of plants, and we haven't even gotten into the types of fish.